Formal civilization started from Africa, when Europeans were still in the bush with no reasoning. Writing began in Africa. Let the world hear this. It began with the Earth, a continent bathed in the first light of creation, where humankind first stood tall and the idea of civilization took its first breath. This is the untold story of how civilization began, how the world's first reasoning mind was born from Africa's soil. Before Europe built castles from stone, Africa built kingdoms from wisdom. From Nubia to Kush, from Kemet to Benin, empires rose that valued learning, trade, and balance. Africa was not darkness before Europe. Africa was brilliance before the world learned to see. Writing, the signature of civilization, began here. The Egyptians called it Medu Neta, the language of the gods. Long before alphabets, long before Europe found its voice, Africa was already recording science, law, and poetry. Mathematics, medicine, engineering, all born from observation and order. When we study the origins of writing and organized education, all paths lead back to Africa. From the symbols of Egypt to the philosophies of Timbuktu, Africa was already defining human thought when Europe was still learning to survive. Here, time was measured by science, not superstition. Here, civilization meant harmony, not conquest. In 859 AD, a woman changed the world. Her name, Fatima al-Fihri. She used her inheritance not for wealth, but to build the world's first university. The oldest continuously operating university in the world. For over 200 years, this institution has stood as a beacon of knowledge, teaching Islamic law, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy. Europe would later create Oxford and Cambridge, but centuries after Al-Qarawiyyin. Fatima al-Fihri built a school that outlasted empires. She proved that the pursuit of knowledge knows no gender, no border, no time. She did not seek glory. She sought enlightenment and gave the world a model that endures. Centuries before Europe's age of discovery, Africa's empires were already connected by trade and learning. The Niger River was a road of intellect. The Sahara, a bridge of exchange. Timbuktu, the desert's library, a city of scholars, poets, and mathematicians. At Sankore University, students studied astronomy, law, and literature. Thousands of books, written, preserved, revered. These manuscripts talk of planets, ethics, and science. They show that Africa was asking the great questions while Europe was still bound by superstition. Here, knowledge was not hidden. It was shared. It was sacred. In Benin, metal was not merely shaped, it was mastered. Art told stories of power, spirituality, and governance, every casting a record of leadership and lineage. While Europe's kings warred over religion, Africa's rulers commissioned history in metal and clay. In southern Africa, the great Zimbabwe stood tall, its architecture precise, mathematical, enduring. No mortar, no flaw, pure genius. When Europe called Africa primitive, they ignored evidence carved in stone. This was civilization in its highest form. When Europe was still in the bush, while Europe hunted in forests, Africa studied the stars. While Europe prayed to trees and spirits, Africa built temples aligned with the heavens. While Europe struggled to survive, Africa thrived. Knowledge, faith, and philosophy, already alive in Africa's heart before Europe's first candle of reason was ever lit. From Morocco to Andalusia, African scholars carried ideas that shaped Europe's future. Their teachings in mathematics, astronomy, and logic laid the groundwork for what Europe would later call the Renaissance. The wisdom of Al-Qarawiyyin crossed the Mediterranean and sparked an awakening. The Renaissance didn't begin in Europe. It began when Europe rediscovered Africa's knowledge. Then came the storm. The colonizers arrived, not to learn, but to take. Gold, ivory, bodies, knowledge. They built their empires on what Africa had already created. They called it discovery, but what they found was already civilization. Europe grew rich from Africa's gifts, but history was rewritten. The student became the master, the teacher forgotten. Africa, the first cradle of knowledge, was labeled uncivilized. When you erase a people's history, you control their present, but truth always finds its way home. Today, the manuscripts are being restored, the walls rebuilt, the truth reclaimed. Students once again walk through Al-Qarawiyyin's gates, the past alive in the present. Knowledge that began here is now returning home. Civilization started here. Writing began here. Universities were born here. When Europe was still in the bush with no reasoning, Africa was already thinking, teaching, and creating. Africa, the mother of all reason, the root of all knowledge, the home of all beginnings. Let the world hear this. Formal civilization began in Africa. Al-Qarawiyyin University, founded by Fatima Al-Firi, recognized by UNESCO and Guinness World Records as the oldest continuously operating university. Knowledge is not Western, it is human, and it began in Africa. Let the world remember Africa's light. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful untold stories from history. Together, let's bring the forgotten knowledge of Africa back to life.